Hey guys, welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I tend to do reviews and reactions to things on the news, politics, things like that. I'm sorry for this glare. My ring light is bright in my face, my glasses on, so just ignore that. Typically, whenever I do reviews, I have my notes to my sides. If you see me looking over, it's because I'm trying to go in chronological order of what happened on this episode. Tonight was The Bachelor, The Women Tell All. 2 hours is kind of like a really long time for all of this, but it kind of just went to the conversations, the disputes, the arguments, because you know this is a really drama-filled season. The girls had their talks with each other. They either squashed things or Chris tried to attempt to have them squash things and eventually had their time to discuss things with Matt. Some people had more screen time than others because obviously, again, some people had more roles in the season than others, but let's just get into it. When they first started, there was a disclaimer that it was filmed in February, so I don't know if that was them trying to be like, hey, sorry, you know, Chris Harrison is temporarily stepping away from his role as host, but we did film this a month ago. Maybe if things had happened sooner, this would not have happened, but they were kind of just having that little disclaimer because I have not seen that disclaimer in previous things. Also, again, this was not an episode of actual like content in the sense of who he's going to pick. This is just the Women Tell All. Next, Chris Harrison starts with discussing the MJ and Jasenia drama. If you remember, MJ was the blonde curly girl and Jasenia was tan skin, long black hair. And I forgot the drama that was involved with this cast. Like, was anyone actually here for Matt? Or were they all kind of just here to either pit against each other or have girl drama, maybe have enough camera time that you eventually become an influencer after this? It's kind of hard to really see people's intentions just due to this. I was like, I feel like you guys are focused on more maybe defending yourself against each other than actually trying to find love with The Bachelor in a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And even watching it back now, the OG versus new girls, the junior varsity versus varsity thing seems less like big or like an insult than I thought it was when I first watched it. Again, I wasn't like, oh my god, that's like a rude offense, but I was kind of like, it's not that deep. So for them to be upset about the whole junior varsity thing was like, but maybe when you're in the moment and you're having that told to you, it maybe feels a little bit more like a stab in a way. But I was like, you know, I mean, she only said so much, but maybe there's a lot of stuff that we missed out on. So that's just my intake on it. I also wasn't sure if Victoria was going to keep the same energy that she had during the actual season during this, because obviously you can play up a lot on a TV show and have the producers do this and this and make you look like some type of person. But she did. She was defending everything she said. She kind of said the same things that she used to say to other people. She would not say attack, but she would kind of keep the same arguments with the people that she had before. You know, I'm talking about Katie, because that was kind of like the main person she was clashing with towards the end when Katie was calling her out on her BS. Victoria asked Ryan. Ryan was one of the newcomers, I think 3 weeks in, and she asked her if she was sensitive because Ryan was holding on to things that Victoria said. Victoria, you said things that hurt somebody. I don't think you'd be able to dictate how that made them feel. You're the one that said it, so their feelings are valid. So don't really say like, are you sensitive or like, are you too sensitive? Like, it was just like, either say sorry or don't. I know, again, it's supposed to be drama, but I'm like, I just didn't really understand her intention by asking that. And then Victoria started to compare maybe calling them names to the hate that she's been getting on her Instagram page. She's like, you guys don't understand. I've been getting hate in my comments. I've been getting hate in my DMs, and I'm still fine. So why could you guys kind of relax from comments? I'm like, you kind of got those things due to the comments you made on the TV show. I don't want to say like you dug your own grave, but like you wouldn't have gotten hate comments if you weren't acting the way you did. It was like a domino effect, but for some reason she's not seeing that, or they edited things out to make it seem like she wasn't really understanding that. It took a break and then came back and we saw Victoria and Katie finally hashing things out. And Victoria ultimately apologized to Katie. I didn't expect it to happen, to be honest. I thought it was just me bickering and then like agreeing to disagree. But then Katie spoke a little too much and said that people get karma, like the things that they do, like karma is deserved. And Chelsea did not like that. Chelsea was like, what do you mean? Why are you saying that? I don't really like that comment. And she's like, well, things come back around. And then I think what Chelsea was kind of upset mostly by was being grouped together, because she was like, people get what they get. I'm like, what are people? I'm not people. I'm not everyone. Like, we're not all doing the same thing. And I don't like when people generalize things because we're all different. So don't say y'all do this. I'm like, maybe that person does, but don't kind of group us together. But I understand that part. But then Chelsea was like, Katie, the environment wasn't toxic until you said it was toxic. I was like, well, yes. Like, no, because you call it out from what it is. Again, I'm not saying that was Katie's role or duty to do that, because again, that's kind of what led to her downfall. But an environment doesn't become toxic because you're addressing it as such. It's toxic and then you address it. Like, I don't know if that makes sense. Like, it's not because of Katie. Katie, if anything, maybe took away time from the women, but it didn't make it toxic. Like, it didn't create the toxicity. It was already there. Katie also said that Chelsea, I don't think she said she was part of the problem, but she said because she was hanging out with the people who were part of the bullying and the drama that she was blind to it. And I see that because, you know, when someone goes through a relationship, you see all the good things in them, but then when they break up, they have all these little nitty pitty things to pick out and say, either this might, but you dated them. And now that you broke up, you have all these bad things to say. So I feel like Chelsea, since she was friends with them, you kind of get blind to things. You kind of defend your friends more because they're your friends. Not saying you can't call them out on their BS, but I understand what Katie was saying there. But I was like, this is weird drama because I didn't see this earlier, but I guess maybe Chelsea was fed up by Katie ragged on her friends and felt like she needed to stand up for them finally. Next, Chris Harrison brought Brittany to the hot seat. That's what he called it. And Brittany is the woman who was allegedly an escort. Not saying that that matters. She shouldn't have been shamed if she was one or is in that industry anyways, but it was a big focal point for a couple episodes. He asked her thoughts on it and like how she felt about seeing it aired and like her feelings now. And she was saying kind of what I said, like, it was not an escort, but even if I was, I'm not shaming that industry. More of it was just like, why is there this lie being tied to my name? Why is it being looked at negatively? I have family who sees this. It's on TV. So it's looked at in a negative way, almost to tear me down. And then it's just that Anna was just having her face like, and it's kind of what happened when they called out the drama on the TV show before Matt actually kicked off Anna. Anna's face was like she was like, because she knew it was around her. And the thing is, like, as the camera kept panning to her, it could have been producers, but it was just like, oh shit, like, is this related to me? This is bad, whatever. I'm like, Anna, like, you just didn't need to say anything. It was not your place. Not saying it was anyone's place. Brittany said that it wasn't true. So imagine Anna saying all these things just for that to be tied with Brittany, for it not to be true, because Brittany was like, when you search my name with Bachelor, escorts what tied to it. And I'm like, imagine, like, that's really unfortunate. Like, she was only on there for a few episodes just to have that associated with her. She also said that Anna never apologized or reached out to apologize until the tunnel, because after that Anna's like, I'm so sorry, I can't justify anything I said, I did that because of my insecurities. Why didn't you apologize when it was airing? It aired, I don't want to say months ago, but it aired weeks ago. There was that opportunity for you to apologize then. You know what her name is, you can find her on Instagram, I'm sure, to DM her privately, but you waited until this to apologize. I feel like it kind of just shows that you're maybe not apologetic about it. But we eventually got to see some unseen footage, and I spaced out because it was supposed to be lighthearted and fun. I'm like, wait, we have like a lot of dates that we didn't get to see. We have a lot of like laughs we didn't get to see, but instead we focused on drama. So you wanted to focus on the drama stuff and maybe painting some of these women in a bad light instead of editing that out and like showing like fun stuff. But you wanted to take out all of this, and like, if you're only showing this much, how much was edited out that we needed to see, you know? So it just shows you the beauty of editing. So just wild, basically, like editing, y'all. Next, we see Katie in the hot seat with Chris Harrison, and she basically was just going on saying that she invested her all into Matt and she was fully there, but she just fell short. I'm like, yeah, like, she just invested too much time into trying to being the hero for the girls that are being bullied, which is really good and all, but you're on a love show and it's one guy and multiple women. So imagine you're so focused on the bullying and trying to protect these women that you're not really talking to Matt, that you're not having this one-on-one, that you're not developing that relationship, that it was her downfall. And that's why she ended up leaving. I don't know if they would have had like a better romance or relationship. You'll never know, because at that point the ship has sailed. But I do think that she kind of just, yeah, I don't know how else to word it. Next, Abigail got the hot seat with Chris Harrison. That was heartbroken for her all over again, because she had such a strong start with that whole first impression rose, just for her to like end up leaving without her expecting it. She was going on saying how he was reassuring her and saying he really was into her and like it was very mutual, just for him to like eliminate her randomly. And it was just sad because she's a sweetheart, and I feel like her intentions were very genuine, and she came on here actually trying to find love. She was also talking about the deaf community and how she kind of isn't deaf because she has her implant in her ear. Sorry, I don't really know too much about this, but she was talking about it and I was learning a little bit more, and I was like, I'm really glad that she can at least bring awareness to that and representation in that community. The next person to be in the hot seat was Piper. We rewatched her time on the show, and her departure still feels like it was ill-timed. I feel like she needed to last, or should have lasted longer than Serena P. And she didn't. She fell in love with him just for her not to receive a rose, and that's just how the show goes though. Like, there's a lot of people you're dating at once, at least from like the Bachelor, the Bachelorette perspective. So it's like, it happened. You can say like, oh, I thought it was me, but like, it was also 10 other women he was dating at the same time. So like, it happened, but it was just still like, he just wasn't there, and he was obviously there with someone else, and it unfortunately really sucks, but you put your heart on the line on this kind of show. The last woman that Harrison talks to is Serena P. She was the woman who basically walked Matt out and was like, you know what, after hometowns and me talking to my family and you meeting my family, you're not the person for me. It's not there. You're not my person. Like, it was very wild, because when she told him that, he was like, he was basically taken aback. He was saying how he thought she was gonna be the one, and he was gonna marry her and he could see her in the long term, and her face half the time was like, so it's just really unfortunate that like they were just on two different pages, and that happens. I can only imagine being so invested in someone and thinking like this is the person, just for the other person to be on a completely different wave. But it's like, how long does it take for either person to realize that you're on different stages in like your relationship? But it's really unfortunate. And Harrison asked her, hey, like, so do you have any regrets? Do you have any thoughts about it? She's like, I'm just at peace with it, and I'd rather let it go then than to hurt him and like string him along when he could have opportunities with other women. I'm like, that's a very grown answer. But I still think she could have left sooner, because I feel like she kind of already knew what she was thinking of him, but it took her family letting her know, because sometimes your family is obviously all knowing about you and like your emotions, but I still feel like she could have known a little bit earlier, but that's just me. Matt finally came out in the last 23 minutes, and this man looked grown as hell with that beard and no hair, and all the girls were cheering and all that, because, you know, obviously they thought he was attractive. They still think he is. And I was just confused when Victoria was like talking to him and her voice was breaking and wavering, but like no tears were coming down, and I'm like, Victoria, I guess this is our last chance really like seeing her and listening to her on this spectrum. And let me just stop talking. I'm not gonna like really rag on her. I was just like, okay, Victoria, you know, that's just how I feel about it. And then Abigail spoke to him, and she handled the situation with grace. She's like, thank you for the experience. I had nothing bad to say about you. I've only enjoyed my time with you, and I appreciate it. And that's kind of like how it was mutually. He's like, thank you for that. And finally, The Bachelor finally addressed what's going on with Rachel Lindsay. They posted a note on their Instagram page saying, as executive producers of the Bachelor franchise, we would like to make it perfectly clear that any harassment directed towards Rachel Lindsay in the aftermath of her interview with Chris Harrison is completely inexcusable. Rachel has received an unimaginable amount of hate and has been subjected to severe online bullying, which more than not often has been rooted in racism. That is totally unacceptable. Rachel has been an incredible advocate for our cast, and we are grateful that she has worked tirelessly towards racial equity and inclusion. So that's the first step, but what next after this? This is just like a note so far, and this is kind of what I was like waiting for them to do. It took weeks, and so like that was it. We also saw the trailer for the next episode. I still really don't know how to really guess what's gonna happen. Yes, I know that there's the spoiler of who got picked, but I still have hope that maybe something's different happening just based off the commercials, or maybe they're just playing it up and making it seem like something else is gonna happen, but I'm really curious. So yeah, let me know what you guys thought of the review, and see you in the next video. Bye!